Security VIP is the official podcast of the security industry, from manufacturers to end users and everything in between. Security VIP is your home for nothing but the truth.
You think you know me?
On this day, I see clear. You're listening to the Security VIP Podcast, hosted by Taylor May, the official podcast of the security industry and home of nothing but the truth. Today on Security VIP, we feature the president and CEO of Pivot SaaS, Brian Carpenter. Get ready for nothing but the truth.
Security VIP Nation, what is going on? Welcome back to another episode of the Security VIP Podcast, the official podcast of the security industry and your home for nothing but the truth. As always, I'm your host, Taylor May. And on today's episode, we're sitting down with the president and CEO of Pivot, Mr. Brian Carpenter. Brian, welcome to the podcast, brother. How are we doing today?
What's up, VIP, Security VIP Nation? Love it. Love it. I'm a fan, man. I'm glad to be on here.
Love to hear it, man. I appreciate you taking the time today to spend some time with us to share your background, your experience, and everything about Pivot. And would love to learn more about you personally, man. So tell us your background.
Well, it's deep and wide, kind of like I am. No, I started about 20 years ago now. Back in Joplin, Missouri. I was doing some other things with my life, kind of completely the opposite of security and technology. And I was actually an outdoor hunting guide and running a corporate hunt club, and made my living outside training bird dogs for a living, and was traveling the country doing seminars for Bass Pro Shops, and got tired of that grind, so decided to give that up. And first opportunity I had, I responded to an ad in the Joplin Eagle. I think it was the Joplin Eagle. Hell, I don't remember. It was 20 years ago, but they had a position open for a residential security person for Empire District Electric. They had an unregulated division of a utility that was doing security. And I was like, I had no idea what it was, but I'm like, what the hell? So went down and applied, got the job, and dived right in and started doing learning the residential security game, and eventually grew into the commercial security game really quick. And that led me into starting my own firm about 6 years later, 2006, 2007, and created a company called i3 Technology Group, where we were a true one-stop shop integrator, everything from structured cabling to access, video, managed services. We did the whole gamut. Built that up for the next 7-8 years, sold it. I believe it was 2013, 14. Again, time escapes me. Took a little break, did a little fishing, did a little hunting, and I had the opportunity to come to Nashville, one of my favorite cities. Had an industry individual that introduced me to a company out of Indianapolis, said that they needed a general manager for a branch in Nashville, and I jumped at that, moved to Nashville, helped that branch get off the ground and get moving. Had the opportunity to move over to another regional security integrator as their VP of sales. Worked there for a couple of years, and during that time, I just, I seen what was some of the things and the trends that were happening in the industry, and quite frankly, got tired of working for the man. I've always, I like doing my own thing and calling my own shots, and success be damned on the decisions that I make. If it's their good decision, great. If not, there's only one person to point the finger to, and that's me. So jumped out, pushed the chips into the table, created Pivot SaaS about 2 years ago, and here we are today.
My man is already speaking the truth, and this is why I wanted you to have on this podcast, man. But it's also important because you come from an integrator background, and we're going to talk about this here in a second. And then, so great to hear your experience, good to hear your background, and then you took some time off, it sounded like, and came back and said, you know what, I want to do my own thing, work for my own, only person I want to work for is myself, and that's why I love my podcast, because I only work for myself too. It's a great duo. So tell us more about Pivot SaaS, man. I want to learn more about the company.
Pivot SaaS is a cloud-based solutions provider. We focus on VSaaS, video software as a service, access as a service, PSIM, physical security information management, anything AI, machine learning driven. We focus on probably our main thrust and what I focus on the most is trying to create a more modernized GSOC today, be able to provide them more situational awareness, give them the tools to be smarter, react quicker, reduce response times, and able to do that through AI, machine learning, in the solutions that Pivot has in our portfolio. So that's really kind of where my focus is working with large companies that have SOCs, bringing in an interoperable cloud-based solution. They can pick best of breed, figure out what solution best fits their platform and their security protocols, and we bring them together through open APIs and webhooks. So it really creates a smart environment for them, and that's really one of the reasons why I created Pivot. I see that's where it was going. People wanted to be able to choose their own platforms and get away from that locked-in proprietary BS.
Staying true to who you are, open ecosystem, best in breed technologies, best in breed partnerships, and people. That's what it's all about here in the industry. And Brian, you know this. I want to say it's a month ago now. I had my colleague Kieran Carroll on my podcast, and we talked about SaaS companies and RMR companies going direct to consumer versus utilizing an integrator. And I would love to hear your perspective on this, because you were an integrator for quite some time. But now, as we shift to more the AI computer vision realm here in the space, what are your thoughts on these kind of machine learning AI companies, SaaS models going direct to consumer?
I think it's the way it's going to be. I think it's the wave of the future. I call it the revolution of cloud and AI. I think that the integrators, if they don't embrace it, they're going to die. Today's traditional integrator is going the way of the dinosaur. If they don't learn to embrace the cloud, they're going to continue to have their footprint and their worth reduced, because companies like me are doing what I call removing the integrator in the middle. We're able to bring in the partners that know that, I bring in the people that know the products best, and that's the people that developed it and created it. I put them in front of my clients and let them protect the brand's integrity through the installation support and the product development. So, and that's really one of the reasons why I created Pivot, was because I've seen the skills gap in our industry. A lot of the old timers were phasing out. We don't have any new blood coming in. There's a huge gap in the middle, and today's integrators are really struggling now. Don't get me wrong, there's several large integrators out there that are still viable, and they're still good operators, but the majority of them, I'd say there's more integrators that are in a position of scramble mode than there are the ones that are being proactive. With the skills gap and having the lack of skilled operators, technicians, engineers, the true integrator of integrating these disparate systems into that one solution, that skill gap is leaving us. And that's one of the reasons why I created Pivot, because it's cloud based. We're getting away from the traditional on-prem and getting into the cloud and letting the customer choose their path, and bringing the manufacturers to help drive that. So, the whole thing of one of the big reasons why I've seen this coming years ago is our industry has just continued to be commoditized. That's the right word. Everybody's got a widget to sell. There's hundreds of cameras vendors. There's hundreds of access control vendors. It's a widget game. So these integrators don't get out of the mindset of we're still a parts and smarts industry. They're getting left behind, because the traditional integrator, it's a race to the bottom. Everybody's got to be low to win, because everybody's got a widget. Everybody's got a camera with the ability to on shop now. That's just another obstacle for these integrators to be successful. At the end of the day, it's driving the prices down, and then ultimately it drives the bottom line and the margin down. So I wasn't interested in continuing to play that game. I wanted to get out and get on the front end of that wave of cloud. The industry, even 7 years ago, wasn't embracing it the way it is now. It's being truly embraced industry wide, as far as the cloud deployment, the security, the things of it. That was really kind of, in my opinion, what was holding the cloud revolution up, was the IT just wasn't embracing it from a security perspective. That they don't want anything else on their network. But now things have changed, even despite some of the craziness that's went on here in our market the last week or two, with some of the unscrupulous vendors out there that's given us a black eye. that's kind of where it's going, in my opinion. They need to improvise or they're going to die.
The Dying Dinosaurs, which you said a couple of weeks ago to me, and I thought that was a great terminology, especially in this space. Because to your point, my father, I say this all the time. My father's been in this space for over 15 years, and the lifeblood of the industry has always been through a channel. It's always relied on security integrators. But to your point, as emerging technologies come out, the cloud technologies come out, it's takes the right expertise to talk to an end user about these kind of emerging technologies. And some integrators, to your point, are stuck in their ways. They're so used to those kind of box sales, or they're so used to the box systems, or there's certain camera manufacturer. And to your point, it's always who's got the lowest bid. They're going to win the job. So Brian, what's the recommendation there though for, I guess, integrators? Because I know you were in that role, but what's the recommendation if an integrator wants to adapt to kind of this new phase change that we're seeing here in the industry?
Get lean. Find the right people that understand cloud, understand the IT side of the house. I say I'm a single man operation. I've got a couple good contract salesmen with me, but for the most part, I'm doing international global sales from right here in my office. I don't have to have a stable of expensive technicians and fleets of vehicles and all these things because of the ability that the cloud provides me, and the ability to work directly with the manufacturers from the deployment and post-sale support. You've just got to have a solution, a story to tell, and the right network and the people to get in front of to tell that story. And most of these integrators have 30, 40 years of history and customers to pull from, and they're just not doing it. I've talked to integrators about this model before that, it's, hey, this is where we need to be going. Instead of those 10% bottom, let's look at 40%, 50% margins, because it's not that race to the bottom. And I've had a couple different owners of integrators tell me, this is what we've done. This is what we know. This is what we do. You're getting left behind, man. It's a new day. It's a new dawn.
Get lean, get mean, and speaking the truth once again, people buy from people, my friend. And that's exactly what this end user industry is about. And end users are getting smarter, man. Clients are getting smarter. Clients can figure out this by themselves now, So really, the value from an integrator.
Yeah, especially in the space that we're playing in. I mean, there's nothing wrong with this, the small office, home office, medium. I mean, but the area that the integrators typically want to play in, they want to play in that middle to large market. They want to go after the enterprise customers, and those customers are intelligent. They have people that know the systems probably better than the integrator because they are smart. They are IT savvy, and they're looking for things that work, that are secure, and they're looking for a integrator or a provider that when they ask a question or if they need something, that they're going to respond and get it done. They just don't need a lot of finger pointing. That's a lot of things with our industry in the past with integrators and multiple. It's like, it's always been this. Now there's only one person to point to, and that's the solutions broker or the architect. That's me. So that's where I make my hay, is what I say I do. I maintain that relationship. I become their go-to advisor, solutions advisor, and build that stickiness with them because of my knowledge. I mean, you got to have the knowledge behind it.
100%. Everything you said, I couldn't agree more with. So, Brian, talk about the go-to-market strategy and talk about some of the verticals that you guys play and tail with the most at Pivot Sas.
Well, I just kind of touched on the go-to-market. The go-to-market for me is, I've leveraged 20 years of relationships and went to those relationships and because they trust me and just introducing them to solutions that fit their need. Doing a lot of listening, do a lot of educating, do a lot of demos, do a lot of webinars, and get them comfortable with, if they're not on board with the cloud and the AI and all that, make them comfortable, answer their questions, become that friend, that advisor for them. That's really gives me the opportunity with the way Pivot situation. I can focus on a handful of key customers and devote my time to them and making sure that they're taken care of. Verticals, anywhere that has a SOC or lots of cameras or lots of doors, the things that we can do with AI. That's kind of where I focus, is going after places that need better situational awareness, the ability to use their existing infrastructure, turn dumb cameras into smart cameras with the use of AI and machine learning. That's really kind of what my focus is, and what Pivot's focus is, I want to move away from an evidence. Our industry, and on the video side, it's been an industry in the past of evidence collection. You wait till something happens, and you go digging through hours and hours and scrubbing video and all that.
Right.
With real-time smart analytics that we offer now, we want to become not an evidence collection, but a proactive alerting mechanism. We turn those cameras into smart things and let the camera do the work and notify you when something is relevant that you need to look at.
I couldn't have said it better myself. I mean, we've been in such a reactive industry for so long. And I think if you look at just any kind of vertical too, K through 12, to hospitals, to healthcare, to shopping centers, shopping malls, cameras are just there for after the fact. And why not use those existing cameras with AI software, machine learning technology to pick up things that we as humans overlook sometimes, right? Because we can't monitor every single camera. So
Right.
not saying to remove the human element, but just make our lives easier. We can apply technology, the right technology, to make our lives easier as an operator and a monitor. So, Brian, I want to talk about this. I want to pivot here for a second. No pun intended, but I do want to pivot to a new conversation. I want to talk about the recent situation surrounding Verkada. I'm sure you heard the news a couple of weeks ago with Verkada and the cloud situation, and with Pivot SaaS, got kind of a cloud first company. Talk about your thoughts about that, man. I would love to hear your take on what happened to Verkada a couple of weeks ago.
Pisses me off, dude. Pisses me off. It just adds more fuel to the scorched earth that the reputable dealers out here and solution providers are having to deal with. For years, we've had to put up and deal with and put fires out from providers like Verkada that's overpromised, underperformed, that's not done their just the basic fundamentals of security. I mean, the choices that they made were egregiously contrary to even the most basic security practices, and then for them to do that, it just puts a black eye on all of us in the industry, and that's quite frankly, it pisses me off. So that's kind of my take on it. I mean, it's to me, it was a well, I won't give in my idea about Verkada. I mean, I don't like trashing competition, but they've earned this.
Sloppy behavior, man. I think it was sloppy behavior, lazy behavior. I spoke with Brian Krause, the Dragon Fruit, a couple of weeks ago on my podcast about this. He told me, Taylor, it's not a cloud problem. It's a CISO problem. It's it's people that are releasing credentials, just not just basic common sense, like protect your accounts, protect your login credentials. So I don't see it as a cloud problem whatsoever. I think the industry knows that. Clients are getting that. They understand that. Verkada messed up in that standpoint.
Yeah, that's plain and simple. I mean, a lot of these solutions, the solutions that I resell, I mean, they're more secure than on-prem. If you do the basic principles and understand, just do the basics. I mean, most of the time you're not having to open up any ports. You're not having to open up any vectors of inbound vectors. No port forwarding, no VPNs. It's an outbound path to the cloud. Encrypted. So if it's done correctly, with integrity, cloud should be more secure than an on-prem solution.
Speaking fire. I love it, man. Speaking fire. So let's move on here. Goals for 2021, Brian. What is the goals for Pivot SaaS for this year?
Just want to stay ahead of the curve or stay ahead of the wave. I mean, this what I call the cloud revolution. It's the wave is upon us. It's coming for the foreseeable future. So I want to stay ahead of it. I think the industry is going to continue to grow fast. I want to get in front of as many people as I can and tell the story, educate, and build the brand awareness. And the main thing is just to educate the market and the validity of cloud, get them away from the old stereotypes. And that's kind of my goal.
Are you finding that clients are more willing to adapt cloud now ever since the pandemic with COVID-19? You find that not much of a hurdle anymore?
Yeah. I think that just like, remote working, there's companies out there that just would not even entertain having employees work at home. And now it's kind of the standard, same thing from on-prem to cloud. And, it's just, again, the implementation and the integrity of the implementation goes a long way. And if you've got the right people, smart people with integrity that's working with the end user, again, that's the reason why I like removing the integrator in the middle and going right to the manufacturer. They know their solution best and they're going to protect it. That's they're going to protect their brand's integrity. So to me, that's the safest play. Put the people that have the most to lose in front of the people that you're trying to win.
100% direct line of communication straight to manufacturers, what this industry is all about. I think as a consumer, it's a big benefit and a positive to get that direct line of support and communication, because then if you have an issue or a question, you can cut out the middleman, you can get the straight answer right from the source. So I love to hear that. I love that model. That model is pretty much what we replicate here at ZeroWise too. We still realize some form or fashion on a channel, but primarily is direct to consumer, because again, this is an emerging space. It's new technology, it's new expertise, and it takes the right people in place to educate end users as we move forward, as we continue to evolve and scale. So love to hear that, Brian. And my final question, I know you've heard my previous podcast about my final question, is that 60-second hot seat, my friend. You pretty much hit on this the whole episode, but I always like to summarize the episode into 60 seconds of why the manufacturer, why Pivot SaaS. Let's hear it, man.
Pivot's a trusted advisor. We want to bridge the information and skills gap. Want to bring the solution and the manufacturer direct to the customer, cut out a lot of the minutia in the middle. And that's really it. I mean, that's really what separates us is, I build the trust, do the work, get the questions answered, and let the people that know the product the best do all the smart work, do all the smart things. I'm just the dumb guy in the middle.
Spoken true, my friend. So Brian, for people that want to have more information about the company, learn more about Pivot SaaS, what's the contact information, phone number, email, website? What does that look like?
www.pivotsas.com. You can reach me at Brian C at pivotsas.com. Call me on my cell, 931-446-4345. I answer the phone.
There you go, my friends. The CEO, Big Boss Man, just gave out a personal cell, so he's always available, which I love to hear that, because not a lot of bosses will do that here on the manufacturer side. Is give that
to hide, man. I mean, what the hell?
We got to set the tone, my friend.
You're doing the right job and you're doing the right thing. Well, I'm not hiding from anybody. Call me anytime. I like
exactly. The dying dinosaur, man. Get the hell out of the way, right? It's all about
starving. They're going away. They need to get it. They need to get with it.
Love to hear it, Brian. Appreciate you taking the time today, my friend, to step on the podcast. This won't be the last time that you be on Security VIP. Trust me, we'll get you back on here in a second. But for those that have questions, comments, or concerns, you can email me at info@securityvip.net. Once again, that's info@securityvip.net. You can watch this episode of Brian and I on YouTube. You can listen to us on Spotify. And for all the latest updates about our podcast series, make sure to stay connected on LinkedIn. Stay safe, guys. Catch you on the next one.
Taylor, it's been a pleasure, buddy. Thank you.
Better recognize. You wanna talk that shit? Talk about